Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Accuracy in America, the reverb process, whatever edition. Anyway, thanks everybody for joining us. I am your host, Don Irvine, joined by my co-host, Brian McNichol.
Hello, deplorables, dregs, despicables, chumps, Neanderthals, semi-fascists, maggots, weirdos, and of course those dog-faced pony soldiers.
All right. So I was explaining to Brian before we started the show, I keep trying different things to figure out why we have this kind of echoey thing on my end. I may have to switch to Firefox with that, but I don't know, maybe I run a test simulation with StreamYard itself, because this is so weird, which means I have to call customer service. I don't know about
That's its own punishment.
Yeah, I know. Say nothing like that. I don't know about you, but I hate calling customer service of anything.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. So
first of all, it's 10 minutes to get to the right person, and then they have spiels. So this call is being recorded.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, I've tried to use. I've been trying to use this budgeting app called Monarch Money, and it's okay. It wouldn't, for whatever reason, it didn't like my little bank, over here. And I thought, okay, well, I can live with that, but it has now seemed to have cut off my brokerage account and my main credit card account. And there's the only way to contact them apparently is by email. Now they responded, but I'm like, I'm not sure this is a solution. So I don't know. I mean, they responded, and they responded because it's a paying service, right? I have to pay for it. But when it comes to renewing, I think I'll just have to figure something out by the end of the year. Anyway. So all that gibberish and whatever talk. All right, so we have just our little weather update. We have Hurricane Debbie, I guess Tropical Storm Debbie, whatever you want to call it. I guess some of the rain we're getting or will get is kind of remnants of that. We've just had this stormy July-ish, and now we're leading into August, where it's hard to have like 2 days straight without any rain. So my yard's a mess.
I'm all for it. I was down in Texas last week, and in Texas, they had a Sahara sandstorm, which you would not think you would run into a problem in Texas, halfway around the world from the Sahara. But indeed, seems like it's a somewhat common occurrence. And so we went through that. We were in Houston when it hit Houston. We went to Austin when it hit Austin. And then when it sort of swerved back toward Louisiana, we rode with it there. So my car is covered in this weird sand. So I'm actually looking forward to the rain to just wash off all the sand. So you never know what you're going to run into. But that, Marty is still coughing that sand out, right? He has sore throat and everything. He's
Yeah, I know Arizona gets they go through, they have these dust storms, right?
Yeah.
And
it's the same kind of deal, but this one was, they were showing it on the weather report on TV. They watched this big cloud of sand, just, I love Texas. I have a great time there every time I go, but, they seem vulnerable, right? For as big and bad as they are, storms wipe them out. Winter storms wipe them out, right? Power off for days, right? We're actually visiting my one cousin lives near Houston, and the power went out for, it wasn't even raining, right? It wasn't even, and then they get this little message on their phones that it would be out for 3.5 hours, right? So they have a pool, so we went swimming, right? It did end up being 3.5 hours, but the thing that was interesting about it, they whipped out lights to meet every need, right? Here's 4 lights for the kitchen table, so you can now see the whole kitchen counter. The pool, they had auxiliary lights for the pool. So they've been without power so much now that they built infrastructure in their home for it, right? They've got stuff to just handle the problem, right? Because It's something that they're dealing with on the regular. We talk about that here, being prepared for this and that, but like the power does not go out enough here for you have a big bunch of supplies you whip out with the power. You just keep the fridge shut, cross your fingers, hope for the best, right? But they've actually learned to live without power because they so frequently don't have it for extended periods.
Yeah, I've been on this fence for years about like a gas-powered generator. Mm-hmm. But like you said, we don't lose power that often in this area. So that I'm like, I just thought, well, that seems like a lot of money to spend for something that will not be used very much. But if I were in these regions that are getting pounded by storms or just have these frequent interruptions, I think it's if you can afford it, it's a worthwhile investment to keep things running.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's sort of like, I've talked to a lot of people, and it's like families sort of make the decision, should we go for the generator? It's like, well, we're thinking about a generator, and it's like, we're getting pretty close to getting a generator. So, I mean, people are getting pushed that way.
Yeah. So I mean, this is the electrical grid. I mean, it's really strained in Texas and a lot of other parts of the country. So this is part of the deal there too. Is what they have. But yeah, Houston got hit earlier in the summer with a big storm, and that was a mess. So it's
Beryl. Yeah, it was a big storm.
Yeah. Okay. Oh yeah. All right. So there we go. So you said Beryl. All right. So I want to know why do I hear it say Beryl versus Burl?
It's Beryl, right?
Yeah. Any I only say this because I have a cousin who spells her name like that. So for my entire lifetime, I've called her Burl. And then I was hearing all these news reports about Beryl. And I'm like, Beryl? What the heck? So I started looking, and I'm like, somebody needs to explain this to me in terms of why the nuances of why you pronounce that name, Beryl versus Burl, and is there a proper pronunciation to that? I don't know. It's just one of those little things that, since you mentioned it, it was in the back of my mind. I throw that out for whatever it is. All right, so we can move on. So one of the things that happened since we last were on the air is the big prisoner swap. So Evan Gerskovitz and was it 16 people were released by Russia, and then 8 were sent back to Russia by various countries. And big swap. Media plays this up as a big victory for Joe Biden. Like anybody else, I think we're happy that these people are home with their families. But I always worry about every time we run into these prisoner swaps that the message is, go ahead and kidnap our people, and you hold them there long enough, you can extract high value out of that in terms of who you get back. Russia's getting back assassins and just nasty people.
Right, they're getting back spies and terrorists, and we're getting back reporters. Yeah. So I mean, it is what it is. We know what it is. If I'm those people's families, I don't really care, right? I want my person home, and I'm certainly sympathetic to that view. But you're right. Like the problem is like you've set up an incentive structure now that says, kidnap more people. There won't be any military action against you. There won't be any. We're not going to the International Criminal Court about it, and we're going to try to make some deal down the line, and you can stall us as long as you want, and when it becomes expedient for you. And in this case, I think the situation is Putin he doesn't want Trump to win again, right? He can't move we've talked about this before. Putin took Georgia under W. He took Crimea under Zero. He took Ukraine under Joe, but he didn't dare move against Trump, right? He didn't make a single move against Trump. He behaved himself. Okay, so why, if Trump gets back in, that's 4 years. He can't do what he wants to do, right? That's 4 years. He's got to do things how Trump wants them done because he can't move against Trump, right? And so, he's trying to get everything, all unfinished business taken care of now and try to give, Joe and the Democrats some good news cycles so that hopefully they will win.
Yeah, I mean, I think this definitely was tailor-made for Biden by Putin on this particular issue. But yeah, it was getting all these countries to agree to do this multi person swap was pretty remarkable in that sense. But the one I kind of wonder if Trump does not win, what will happen going forward. And I would probably, at least at the very least, advise, the Wall Street Journal not to send people into Russia and any of these hot spots, any of these potential areas where there's somebody terrorists who will kidnap them. I mean, it would blunt some of their coverage with some things, but I think you have to really look at where you're going to go. There are countries out there that are dangerous, to travel through. If you're an American, you can become a target.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I don't know about, someone's going to do that, right? Somebody's going to take that job. And if the Wall Street Journal doesn't cover Russia, then they will fall behind other media outlets. So I don't know about all that. I think you have to, those countries are going to have to invest in some security for those people, though. They're not letting them travel out alone and all that. And it will put some handcuffs on what they can do over there. Pardon the mixed metaphor. Yeah. But I don't know. I think we have to cover Russia. They have journalists here. So I think we will keep covering Russia. The competition is too strong, and there's a lot of our media now is like Daily Mail and so forth comes from Europe, right? So Europe has European media companies have a big presence in the U.S. now. So the competition is just too stiff. You're going to have to figure it out some which way, and I think you need to the bigger picture is why is right. That's right. So he is looking forward to a Harris. He could do. I really believe that if she is sworn in as president, everybody in all the bad guys in the world are going to see a huge opportunity to go do what they want. So this is a critical election. It's time to put country over party. It doesn't matter if you like Trump at this point. That's all that's standing between you and a lot of stuff you don't want to happen.
Right. Okay. So now we go to yet another country, back to Venezuela. Now we talked a little bit about it last week, but more information now has come out of Venezuela. We're getting more polling information about, from the polling stations about the vote and everything like that.
The actual election results. What we had last week was exit polling.
Right.
30-point edge in exit polling. That's the result, right? It's not like, oh, well, in reality, it wasn't a 30. It was the other guy won. That doesn't happen. But you now have certified poll results that say that Maduro lost.
Yes, but Maduro's not planning on going anywhere anytime soon either, right?
Right. I mean, I don't know. You got to think about dislodging him. And the last time they tried to do this, the people backed down. The people said, okay, you can keep going. And if they back down, that they'll get 4 or 5 more years or whatever the term is of Maduro. You're gonna have to stand your ground at some point, and you're gonna have to see if he's really willing to make the soldiers fire on their own people, and if the soldiers are willing to do it. I mean, at some point, the soldiers have families too, right? They have people in the country too. So at some point, it gets to be a really ugly little cycle, and the decision matrix changes for them, and hopefully the outlook does too.
Is there any amount of foreign diplomacy by the U.S. or any other country that can help, uphold what the election results, really were, or are they going to really be stuck?
I think we're pretty stuck right now. I don't, I think that the people we have in those positions are not going to be able to, dislodge him. Right? They don't have the moral authority, and they don't have the strength, and they don't know how things work. So I think you're stuck with, it's going to have to take care of itself at this point. It won't get, if it looks like they're going to win, then we can jump in on the side of the winners, right? But us affecting the change, I think Biden tried, and, he was rebuffed, and I think we went back into our corner and licked our wounds.
How much is Maduro's life maybe potentially endangered? Should he be looking over his back a little bit after this? I mean, if he tries to be the strong man again after all of this, I'm not saying the U.S. is going to send somebody in, but I just wonder if there's enough. I know you said how the people kind of backed off the last time, but maybe would there be some opposition somewhere that is actually forming even right now as we speak, to maybe look at a way to somewhere take him out? Maybe not right away, but plan something where when he's not really, when his guard is down, they're going to take him out.
I think that if that's going to happen, it has to come from the military, right? They seem to control everything that goes on there. Yeah, that's right. He's talking about, so, we're basically financing Maduro by allowing him to sell oil in the United States, right? Anytime you fill up at Citgo gas, you're buying Venezuelan oil. So, but I think that he if he's going to be dislodged, it's going to have to be by the military, his military. And, what would cause them to see that as the correct strategy? Seeing if he has to lash out a lot. I mean, if you get to the thing where you're shooting a lot of people in the streets, I don't know if they have, do they have the stomach to do that repeatedly, ad nauseum, on and on and on? I think that's kind of the question.
I mean, I do see with the military, though, that it could possibly be bought off.
Right. That's true, too. And that's a worthy investment for any number of people, including us. So, maybe that's the way we will do it. And that'd be fine. If you find somebody who can take him out, let's do it.
Okay. So we're on the record of China.
Yeah.
For what that's worth. All right. So we're now down to about 89 days before the general election. There's still a few primaries going on out there. We just one where another squad member went down. Cori Bush, another outspoken member of the squad, lost her primary to another progressive, but not a guy who's not as liberal left as she was. And he was a support. He was being a supporter of Israel, where she was not. We already saw Jamal Bowman go down. What is this saying about the squad, the progressives, in the party, at least at the congressional level?
Well, I mean, I think in the case of members of the House of Representatives, it's just less so in the Senate. But when we're talking about House members, they want your focus to be on the district, right? You're elected from the district, and her focus got to be on building her brand with the squad and seeing how outlandish she could be and so forth. And I think there's a limit in America politics to how outlandish you can be without substance, right? If you have substance, like, I don't agree with anything AOC says, right? But she is talking about a Green New Deal, right? There's a policy there that you can go look up, and you can see her preferences on it, and you can debate it, right? And it's pretty easy debate to win or whatever, but there is some substance there. You're not just screaming about how bad everybody is, right? And I think Bush's did not have that level of substance. I can't believe I just argued that the person with the substance is AOC, but here we are in 2024. Yeah, the two have lost. One more may be in a little bit of trouble. On the other side, we're down to just one person in Congress, one Republican in Congress who voted for the Trump impeachment. Right? There were two, and one of them lost last night. So, There were 11 at first, right, in the House, and so 10 are gone. Dave Valadio in California is the only one who survives, and he survives because Kevin McCarthy asked Trump to spare him, to not turn down the screws on him. So, that Trump's influence was expanded in both cases last night.
Yeah, and to Bob's point, maybe the squad that was the low hanging fruit that lost, but it also showed. I mean, wasn't Berman also anti-Israel? I mean, it wasn't
right. That's right.
So,
and the criticism of the guy who beat Bush is that he was bought off by AIPAC or whatever.
Right. So, but I mean, this is politics, right?
Yeah.
So the thing too is just that it's just showing that if you take that extreme position against Israel, and you find somebody who's still liberal, but maybe even a little bit more centrist, it's not as far left as the Bowmans and the Bushes like that. You can put up a credible campaign or something there, and you can win, and it's a little more palatable to their district.
Well, I mean, Israel it's about an 80% issue for Republicans, about a 72 to 75% issue for Democrats. Like 75% of Democrats favor Israel in this context, but yet they have a lot of their elected officials who don't, right? Who go around saying other things. It's not a popular view, and it's easy to get into people and say, come on, the people who are being practical here are the Israelis, not the Hamas. The Israelis were the ones who got attacked, right? They're trying to straighten out their attack. So, I think that they keep beating their head on the door on this, it's going to keep costing them votes. And now you have, that's another vulnerability of picking Walz, right? He's let tons and tons of immigrants into Minnesota and giving them free health care and preferences and hiring and housing and all this kind of stuff. So, I mean, he'll have a lot to answer for on a really unpopular issue.
Yeah. All right. So you're going there. We'll bounce around a little bit. This is what the Wall Street Journal said about Tim Walz and what Kamala Harris increasing taxes. Minnesota already has the fifth highest top income tax rate among the states, 9.5% at $193,000 of earnings for a single filer. He's added a 1% surtax on investment income about above $1 million, while reducing deductions, and the governor wanted more. They have a death tax of 16% on top of the federal rate, 30% rate. So they're saying that's why people have moved out of Minnesota. You just mentioned illegal immigrants, making an estimated 81,000 illegal immigrants in the state eligible for driver's licenses, with health insurance through the Minnesota Care Public Marketplace, funding the North Star Commerce program, which is free college for students with family income under 80,000, including illegal immigrants, creating a state system for paid family medical leave, capped at 20 weeks a year, funded by a 0.88% payroll tax, mandating that public utilities generate 80% carbon-free electricity by 2030, ramping up to 100% by 2040. So, we know where he stands on climate. Subsidizing, electric vehicles by requiring EV charging infrastructure or adjacent to new and commercial family buildings. Passing one of the nation's most permissive abortion statutes.
Abortion for any reason at all up until the day of birth.
Right, that's what they're saying here.
And he has approved killing babies who survived abortions. Right, don't help them, kill them.
Yeah.
But this is a bad person. He is not, American, Mr. Middle America at all.
Right. Declaring Minnesota to be a trans refuge, state will ignore a court order for the removal of a child issued in the state.
Okay, so what that means is kids can have trans surgeries without parental notification even from out of state. So if you're in Ohio, you can go to Minnesota, and Minnesota will do this for you, right? It's the most radical pro-trans surgery law in the country.
Yeah. So as you were just saying, while I was going through that long list, was that this is not Mr. Middle of America by any stretch. The media. All I see in the media is that we've got this Middle America governor with he's very folksy.
Yeah, he knows how to talk to people. He can talk to you like a regular guy. It's like, yeah, he's not talking to me like a regular guy. He's talking to me like a crazy leftist extremist,
Right, and that's right, and so Harris went that way, so that you now have easily the most left-wing progressive presidential ticket that we've seen. I keep thinking that we can't get any worse for the Democrats, and it keeps getting worse.
Yeah. I mean, you're now on a plane that no one has ever succeeded on before. Right, they're now to a point of left. They've tried it before. McGovern tried it. Dukakis tried it. Right, but they failed. They lost badly, and that's where she is. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So go ahead.
No, I was going to say. I guess the Republicans. I guess Trump was happy too. I mean, I think they're happier with that pick than picking Shapiro. I think Shapiro would have been much more effective.
I think they were sincerely worried about Shapiro. Yeah, and I think that he got up there last night and showed why. Right, there was all those speeches they gave. He was the one who actually prosecuted the case. Right, the rest was cheap shot nonsense that you come to expect from these guys. But his was actually substantive and effective. And of course they couldn't pick him because he's Jewish, and they're catering to the Hamas supporters at this point. They're catering to Ilhan Omar and her guys. So you pick a guy who's also his unit in the Minnesota National Guard gets called up to Iraq, so he quits. Right, 24 years. I'm out of here. I didn't really get in the army to fight wars, dude. So I mean that's that will be. And then he claims that he had the chief master sergeant, the highest rank of non-commissioned officers in the army. But he was demoted, and he finished his career demoted a rank below that because he was because he didn't stay for the length of his deployment. He signed up for 6 years and he quit before the 6 years was up. So he got demoted, and he quit because his unit was headed to war and he didn't want to get shot at.
All right, we got to catch up with Bob's remarks here. So,
all right. Well, they have themselves to blame.
Okay, that's one there.
Yeah.
And then we've got opt in with this one.
Yeah, that's right. I think Trump made his point about to be careful, to be precise about it. Okay, the point he's making, he's not questioning her blackness or whatever. People say he's questioning her race. No, he's not. She can call herself whatever you want. All Trump is pointing out is that she shapeshifts, right? She's Indian when it's helpful to be Indian, and she's black when it's helpful to be black. Right? He's just pointing out she's a phony, right? The point is made. You can now move on from that. You don't have to talk about it anymore, right? And when you actually, I guess Trump was on Fox this morning. When you actually look at what he's talking about, everybody keeps saying, you need to talk about policy. He's talking about policy. He's talking about immigration policy. He's talking about child welfare, human trafficking, the economy. I mean, those are the things where he has the edge on him.
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, the Democrats, and I think we've said this. I mean, they're really the champions of identity politics. That is not something that Republicans should dip into at all and attack identity. As Bob says, there are enough issues out there to hammer away at Harris and now Walz on there. I mean, Harris is inextricably attached to the Biden policies.
right?
And we've got there's a bunch of loser policies.
And if she tries to leave them, she can only leave them to move further left, right? Her need is actually to tack toward the center now, because she's the most liberal person in the Senate when she was in the Senate, and now she has brought onto her ticket the most progressive governor in the country. Okay, so you've done nothing to move toward the center yet, right? The headline of the Washington Post, the unsigned editorial this morning, talks about how she needs to move to the center. So even friendly fire on that.
Yeah, nothing about Walz too is just that he went ahead and just kind of let Minneapolis cities burn during BLM during all that activity. I think there was a report where his wife opened a window and wanted to.
Yeah. So I kept the windows open because I wanted to smell the burning tires and be part of the. It was such a momentous event. See, but here's what slipped out of that, right? That was a very revealing thing because, they thought it was good that Minneapolis exploded and that all that stuff got destroyed. All those businesses were burned to the ground because, it was a shriek. It was an expression of the horror of, racial injustice and all that. And so he wanted it to go on. I mean, that's actually what he told Jacob Fry, is the mayor of Minneapolis. He wanted it to go on. He wanted, if you do this kind of stuff, you need to pay this price, right? Well, the people that, who got hurt by it were not the people who did the stuff, right? So they paid a price for something that they weren't responsible for at all. So, it's they're in a bad place on all that. They exalted in something that wasn't real and wasn't right. They tried to make a hero out of a guy who was, a counterfeiter, drug addict, wife beater, right? And everything they do, it's to make it look like something else, right? What is the purpose of Walz on here? Is to make it look like radical leftist Californian has joined forces with plain old regular guy, Minnesota, solid American dude. They keep saying, you tried to paint him as any gun, and they show him out there hunting, and so forth. They want to look like regular America. They have no interest in being like regular America.
Yeah, he either has or had a rating from the NRA, which is not unusual for Democrats who actually, own guns and do hunting, or other representatives. I mean, I've seen that. I mean, I've seen plenty of Democrats address the NRA convention because they are very pro QA kind of thing. But that's just one issue. When I went down that litany of issues, and you kind of expanded upon that on the trans thing, on the abortion thing, is that these guys are way out of step with most of America.
Yeah, way out of step.
Yeah.
Right.
And Trump. I mean, Trump can they can hammer away at it, or they can Vance can hammer away at that in a debate or something like that. If they're going to have a debate, it's just these views that are outside the norm, and things that maybe it works in Minnesota, but it's not going to play, throughout most of America. We have a very widespread divergent amount of views, and we've got conservative people who do not stand for that. There are conservative Democrats who do not stand for this kind of behavior, this kind of opinion that is going on in there. But Walz has the advantage. He had a state legislature that the Democrats control. So it's like when that happens, when you get to be kind of a one-party state in that sense, you can ram these things down the throats of the voters, and they don't have really no way to push back. So they're now saddled with these horrible laws. So there needs to be change in a lot of areas in terms of that, and I don't know. Maybe somewhere some point in time in Minnesota, they can shift it back a little bit and get some balance back in their legislature, so that to prevent things like this and maybe undo some of this stuff.
Right. Yeah. So that's right. Oh yeah, I bet they were. I bet the people actually served are very, very hot about somebody getting in there and quitting the day of when you're supposed to go off to war. You know,
Yeah, but
there's no spin in it either. And the other one is like, you can see them trying. They know they're in trouble here, right? There's all this exuberance over. They had this big rally in Philly last night. Trump does 20 of those a year. It's a big thing to y'all because you've never seen one, right? But like we see them all. We see them 20 times a year. They talk about this. He signed legislation to put tampons in boys' bathrooms, right? So that's an ostentatiously pro-gay agenda legislation. It wastes money. Boys don't need tampons in their bathroom. It's done solely for political, purposes, right? It's a joke, right? And so, they have come back, they said, well, what's wrong with him putting tampons in the bathroom? It's like, they don't tell you it's the boys' bathroom, right? It's always with the Democrats, make it look like something that it's not, right? They want to make it look like what they're doing is normal, and it's not normal, right? And everybody who actually understands what normal is gets this. I think that gap it's starting to widen. I think it's going to grow to a really massive amount between what they consider normal and what they put forth as normal and what we actually, perceive as normal.
Yeah, so I question a little bit about the vetting process of Walz in terms of,
Yeah, I do too.
What Harris was thinking in the sense of, did she really want someone who almost mirrored her leftist liberal agenda, or was did her advisors, did they think that by putting someone else like on the ticket was going to help her, was actually going to help her win? I mean, the Biden-Harris campaign was in a lot of trouble before Biden stepped down. And it's turned around to a degree right now, but we're still kind of in the early stages of this, and I'm not going to make too much of this right now. But when the actual voting comes out, it's just hard for me to believe that a ticket like that has much widespread appeal across the country.
Right. So what the polls are saying right now is the reliable ones. There's a lot of juiced polling out there. Like I looked at one this morning. It had her up by 2, right? But it had 40% of the respondents were Democrats, right? And like 33% were Republicans and 22% were independents. Well, we know that, that's not how the electorate lines up at all, right? The Democrats in a lot of these places are below Republicans. So, 40 to 32 or whatever, 31 or whatever it was, is ludicrous. Like you're juicing your poll. Okay. But even in the ones that are less juiced, the fundamentals are, she has coalesced the Democrats, right? She's getting like 92% of the Democrats at this point. Biden was down into the mid 70s. So that's a big difference, right? And it's an enthusiasm difference. Those people were never going to vote for Trump. They just also weren't going to vote for Biden. Now they're interested in Harris. Okay. Trump has about 93% of the Republicans locked up. There's a few malcontents and the weirdos, and they truly are weirdos who voted for DeSantis and just can't get over that he lost. But among independents, depending on what poll you're looking on, Trump is 5 to 9 points ahead. So that's sort of middle America telling you, we're watching, we're looking for something we could jump off the Trump train for, but we're not seeing it yet.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we're going to need a lot more polling before we see what's going on there. Her announcement was legit. I mean, Democrats are coalescing around her. There were a lot of people who couldn't bring themselves to vote for Biden. They can see themselves voting for Harris. They kind of like the ticket at this point in time. But, it's still a far left ticket. So that, there is going to be that far left base or whatever that, they can get those votes. But if you're a centrist Democrat, whoever they are, or you've been on the fence. I mean, I don't know how many stories you or I have seen of Democrats, even after all this happened, that just can't bring themselves to vote for Harris, at this point. They just don't see them doing that, and they probably will vote for Trump, but some of them may not vote at all in the presidential election, which could, which would really hurt the Democrats as well. I think the Democrats still got a problem there, where kind of like where the Republicans had a lot of people who couldn't vote for Trump back in 2020, and I heard a lot of down ballot people. That is shifted to the Democrats, and I don't think that problem has solved itself necessarily right yet at this point.
Right. Yeah. I don't think. I think they're still working through talking some of their own people off the ledge. And there's a remnant, and we're about to find there's another little interesting thing that's going on. Is apparently Jill did not sign off on this wonderful deal to put Kamala on the ticket and Joe to retire, right? This was all going on when they were negotiating this hostage deal. So there was a lot going on, and they were not in the office. They were in Delaware, and Joe wasn't feeling good. And she, the word is that she, thinks Joe got taken advantage of, which, a lot of people suspected at the time. And she might want to seek a redo on that. She might want to, come back and try to get Joe on the ticket or whatever. But I think it's too late for that. I don't know how they do that at the convention. They've already had an electronic convention, and the delegates have already voted, I believe, for the Democrats. So, I remember being a kid and like watching the ballots on TV and it being close, right? And there being a bunch of candidates, and and we really, like, you're watching the countdown of the states, not actually knowing who's going to win, or assuming but not being sure, right? And now it's done before the convention. In the case of the Democrats, they've already done it. So sort of you're just meeting there for a bunch of speeches at this point. It sort of takes the news value out of your convention. So. She has a honeymoon for, about 3 more weeks, right? Between now and her convention, and a week or so after her convention. But, at some point, they got to work out like how they're going to debate. They're going to have to debate. The vice presidents are going to have to debate. They're going to have to answer questions. There's no policy whatsoever on her website right now, right? She's not declared anything in terms of policy. What will I do as president? Right now, it's a blank slate, right? You can make some assumptions based on what she's done and been for in the past, but they haven't said. And someone said last night, Vance should say, okay, Walz, you want to debate? Let's meet tomorrow, or you want to meet tomorrow or the next day. Let's do it right now, and just make, because he can't do it. He has no policies to elucidate. He can't, he could not debate. He would have to say no.
Another comment from Bob.
Yeah, that's right. He is also ridiculously China friendly. He's been there more than 30 times. He went to school there. He went on his honeymoon there. Very attached to China. Got from Minnesota. That's always a little special, especially, when he comes back a Marxist,
Yeah, where he say? Socialism is neighborhood.
A lot of people call socialism. A lot of people call that neighborliness.
Neighborliness, yeah.
Neighborliness.
I don't know.
That raises the point, though. Neighborliness is something you do with your money. You see your next door neighbor needs help. You take your money and you go help your next door neighbor, right? You don't make randos from elsewhere, contribute to you helping your neighbor, right? That's what he wants, is like, you just give to government and you don't have to worry about your neighbor, because government will take care, and I guess one of their big things, it'll be interesting to see. I don't believe this issue actually has a lot of potency, but the school lunches, right? The Democrats want to say, hey, well, we're for school lunches. No one's really opposing you on school lunches. They probably should, but they're not. What's being opposed is feeding people in the summer, right? Having school lunch go on all year long. Okay, and it's like I always say, like, when is the parents' turn to feed their own kids? How many times does government feed them before the parents step in and feed them, right? And if the parents can't ever provide a meal, why are we leaving them with those parents? Why are we letting kids live in homes where their parents can't ever provide them a meal?
I think you're the first person I've ever heard say that. Because the school lunch program has been around forever, it seems.
Yeah.
And that's a good point. I think it's a good point. I mean, it's another government program that people have just kind of fallen back into relying on and thinking like, oh yeah, the government should go ahead and feed our kids so we can do other things with the money we have, whatever money we do have, and not really help the families learn how to become financially independent, get better jobs, get better paying jobs, bring in the money where they can easily feed their kids 3 squares a day, rather than saying, oh no, the government, the school system should go ahead and feed our kids a lunch or breakfast, right?
Lunch, breakfast, supper, holidays, weekends.
Right. Summertime, there's after school care that they provide in a lot of cases.
Right. Well, like here, that's a big industry here in Northern Virginia, but you pay for it, right? The school runs it and they hire the people who run it. It's called SAC, School After Care or something, right? SACC. And, because I see them, like I come in for practices and stuff, you'll see the SAC kids play ball and stuff because they leave about 6 or whatever. I get that. That's the locality. The school board has entered into this. If you don't like it, you can protest to the school board or run against them and beat them and stop them. That's relatively doable, right? And the program serves a lot of people, and the people pay for the program, so it's not really a big public charge, But it's like when you say school lunch. Okay, we're going to set up this infrastructure and move all this food around and have people there to serve it and clean it. And, it's got to meet the cleanliness standards of restaurants and whatever. We're not serving kids food out of dirty kitchens, right? So there's a lot that goes into, we're going to give kids a bunch of extra school meals. And, they have parents, right? Why is it the school's responsibility, the taxpayer's responsibility, and not those parents?
Yeah, I'm just saying that on the aftercare thing, for those that are in the school lunch program, that type of thing, a lot of them kids probably are in that program that does come out of taxpayer pocket. Because if they can't afford a school lunch, they can't afford to pay for that aftercare thing. I know I have some friends of mine that run one of the biggest aftercare programs in the county, and they've done very, very well running that program. They're very good at it. But they've made a lot of money doing it. That's their whole business has been, for the last 30 plus years or whatever it's been. I'm not going to knock the aftercare program. It just seems that there are programs out there where these people are relying on the government to take care of their kids for them, and that they have very little. They get them at night through the morning, and then they send them back again. They're there.
And no food. They don't have to put up any food. Just even that little bit of time.
They put them to bed. They send them to school. They may not even have to pay for any school supplies, because school supplies are lots of money and lots of things are raised for school supplies too.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. It's always some excuse.
Yeah, it's like, why not just keep the lights on 24/7? Come in and get it. If you need a midnight snack, drive over to the school.
Yeah, that's right.
We're moving in that direction. It seems. Yeah, I think about the news reports about where you could pull up. I think was this during COVID though? You could pull up at a school and get like a bag lunch or a bag meal, right?
Yeah. Yeah, they did that around here. It wasn't just at school. It was like various parking lots and stuff around town. Just drive through and get a bag of lunch.
I thought, I should go and drive through and see what they're giving them. Never got around to doing that. So yeah, so there's so many things. But you mentioned Jill Biden, and it has kind of I have kind of wondered in the back of my mind, in terms of what Jill is thinking now and how she felt. I mean, I think you kind of alluded to a little bit about, you know, how Joe got treated, getting kind of pushed out the door or whatever, and everything like that. And would she even campaign or be out there on the trail, or is she going to kind of get out there and get some fake smile? I mean, is the Harris campaign even going to use Biden very much?
Right. Yeah. I don't know. I don't think they want him out on the stump any. Right. He does release a statement.
Face this way.
Yeah.
Please wave.
Yeah. Another thing about these guys. Okay. So as for Joe, I don't know that they probably have to give him a speaking spot. They may even have to give her a speaking spot. But those could be, that could be disruptive, right? I think they got to get everybody on the same page over there. So I think that she will have to promise to behave herself in order to get a speaking spot. And I don't think she can get herself to turn it down. I think she's too tempted, and it won't ever be. So the other thing is that these guys got to deal with, though, is it seems both of them may have problems with alcohol, right? A lot of her appearances, she seems drunk, right? That's been commented on by people who didn't, had nothing against her and didn't smell anything and watched on TV, right? But they seem like they both drink, weird laughing, tumps over. You see her, she'll be, and she'll just tump over, right? And you're like, okay, a little weird. And Walz got a speeding ticket for 96 and a 45, some little town in Minnesota. And when he gets pulled over, he has a 1.28 deal, blood alcohol content, 0.128, right? 0.08 is the legal limit. So he's more than 60% over the legal limit. And he's driving 96 and a 45. And if you can do that, if you're driving 96 in a small town, and you have that much alcohol in you, you're used to driving drunk, right? It's not their first time. So, I think that question needs to be raised. Trump doesn't drink. He can afford to do that. He can, I'm sure they vetted Vance on that. There's another thing. Vance is doing a real good job. There was a lot of, is Trump going to have to dump him off the ticket? And there was the thing about the couch and all this. But Vance has actually become a real effective surrogate for Trump.
Yeah. So anyway, okay. I was had a comment from someone talking about the echo on YouTube, so I'm going to make sure that they know that I'm not going to ignore them. All right. So now I put up John's last comment.
What Bob say
on Hillary?
Right, that's right. And just like the arrogance of the village can do better than you.
Yeah. Well, whatever that's worth. Just as we kind of roll towards the end here, Pelosi kind of making the suggestion that Joe Biden should be on Mount Rushmore. And was it Leslie Stahl was even kind of like, are you saying that he needs to go up there and didn't she say something about you can take Teddy Roosevelt down or something?
She's gotten really silly. Like, she laughed at Trump picking Vance, and I don't think she's laughing anymore after, Walz' pretty ugly greeting to the campaign trail. That didn't roll out, did not work out for the Democrats at all. No, he does not belong on, this is a guy, he served one term of president. He's one of the most unpopular presidents ever, drove the economy into the ditch, ruined our foreign policy. More than twice as many people died of COVID under him as under Trump. Just a complete disaster of a president. Yeah, that's right. Commies, and they are fully commies now. They're fully, there's no, you were talking about moderate Democrats, and it's like, okay, who is a moderate Democrat? Name me a moderate Democrat. Can you name one?
Well, I mean, I think we mentioned it before. I mean, the blue dog Democrats, the people that we knew, that stood up for something that had, you could say, the Henry Jacksons or the Sam Nunns, and people like all these blue dog Democrats. They may not have been completely on our side, but they were reasonable people. They have all been forced out.
Right, that's right. For the extremists. I guess there's a guy, the senator from Michigan, the guy, he's pretty sensible. I can't think of his name. It's escaping me.
Peters?
Yeah.
Gary Peters?
Gary Peters.
Yeah.
Again, I don't agree with him, but, he's not insane like most of these guys are.
Yeah. So, but I think what our tech death hippie said is true, though. Is that we see, and if you think it's all full on commies and socialists, wait to see what happens if Harris Walz get elected. Okay. I mean, that's kind of the next step that will happen in this whole thing. It's just that you kind of, to me, it's like you ain't seen nothing yet,
right?
At this point, right? So that'll be happening here. So think about that, people. That where are we likely to go? If Harris wins the election. This is forget the first black woman president and all this kind of stuff. Think about the policies. Think about the politics of Harris and Walz. And any doomsday prediction that the Republicans have made before about Democrats, Barack Obama, Joe Biden, whatever, Bill Clinton, even. This pale by comparison.
Yeah, this would be really dangerous.
Nothing like that. This is complete. We're on a completely different plane now. So
right,
anyway.
Which is why I don't think they'll get elected.
Yeah,
they're riding high right now, but I think at the end people are going to say, "No, we're really not that nuts as a country."
Yeah, it's kind of like at some point in time, I expect all this to come down to earth, and we get to this. And it maybe the debate will kind of crystallize a few things. The debates aren't going to need a whole lot. It may give some Americans a chance to see, especially if Trump and Vance stay on method, how nutty these guys look. And
right, I think his total message should be how nutty they look. I think that's the whole focus of what he should be talking about.
Okay. All right. So we're near the end. Let's go ahead and just close this out. Go ahead.
I was going to look at what we had on this list here. Maduro, we did. They will eventually debate, right? Somewhere, somehow, they kind of both need it. Let's see. Chevron, a lot of companies are moving to Texas now because it's the tax situation and the regulatory situation. It's like Texas is doing it right. Right, they're not selling the weather. Right, ain't nobody moving to Texas for the weather. So, and obviously not for the reliable electricity either. Let's see, Poly Market, Trump still ahead. Aerosmith retiring. Also,
and that's down from last week. I mean, that's the betting market. It's only a betting market. It's down significantly from last week. I expect that it'll change going the other way.
Yeah, this is the moment of what did Axelrod call it? Irrational exuberance on the other side.
And there's 1% for Michelle on that.
Huh?
1% for Michelle.
You have here Aerosmith is retiring. It looks like Journey has also canceled a bunch of tour dates. Aerosmith, I guess Steve Tyler doesn't feel like he can do it anymore.
His voice.
Yeah, his voice is, and he put that voice through some hard times. I will say, and it made him some money. He lives in McLean most of the time. His daughter lives in McLean, so he's kind of a semi-local guy. As for the Olympic boxing controversy, I feel bad for these people, right? But these are women with XY chromosomes, which is hard to understand. But the XY dictates the the testosterone, which dictates the muscle and bone size, which dictates the strength, which makes it unfair for them to compete against women. I don't know what you do, but what we have now is not what you should do.
All right, I got to close this out. Thanks everyone for joining us. Please, as always, stay healthy, stay well. Remember, we live in the greatest country in the world. Do not let anyone tell you otherwise. And as always, God bless America. Ooh.
Wow, 4 seconds to spare.
Well, yeah, they may reject me on my. All right, good enough.
All right, thank you. See you next week.
Bye bye.